Deputy President Paul Mashatile has told Parliament that government is doing everything it can to fast-track the redistribution of land. He says around 7,000 hectares of state land has been set aside for this purpose. Mashatile also took a swipe at failing coalition governments in several of the country's metros, saying the political groupings need to set aside their arguments and put people first. Senior reporter Ayesha Ismail reports.
The National Assembly has passed the appropriation bill, which is currently under consideration by the National Council of Provinces. However, government has made the following interventions already. 700,000 hectares of state land were identified for redistribution, and advertisements were circulated to the public in October 2020. A total of 659,000 hectares of land were considered and approved for allocation, which translates to about 1,459 farms. 245,000 hectares of land that had been acquired and allocated to targeted beneficiaries, which include 107,000 hectares to women, 85,000 to youth, and 489 hectares to people living with disabilities. 25,000 hectares of the acquired land has been allocated for tenure reform purposes.
While opposition parties aren't averse to land redistribution, they want to know how it's going to be done. Corruption is also a concern, something the Deputy President says will be addressed. But he stressed that recipients of agricultural land must use it wisely and be active on it.
I think it's important that we must help beneficiaries of land reform to become productive with the land that they have, particularly to cushion them from trying to get foreign goods, particularly food. If they can use that land productively, they can produce food for themselves and able to sustain themselves. But obviously, if they become real farmers, we will support them and they can produce food for all of us, because food security is very important.
He's made it clear that the ANC isn't a fan of coalition governments.
Coalition governments must be committed to combating poverty and deprivation, as well as building a growing and inclusive economy, and must report regularly by providing evidence of poverty reduction, growing the economy, and including the majority in the mainstream of the economy. Third one, coalition governments must contribute towards building a prosperous society in which people have access to land for productive purposes and are meaningfully participating in the economy.
Service delivery should be high on the agenda.
Coalition governments should be bound together by a commitment to good governance with no tolerance for corruption. And lastly, 6, the party that has won the largest votes in an election should be allowed to lead the coalition, and the executive positions should then be allocated proportionally to the votes obtained by the coalition partners.
The Deputy President says coalition governments should act in the best interests of the people who voted for them. Ayesha Ismail, Cape Town.